If you feel like your music teaching is worth more than what you're earning, there's one mistake you could be making that actually caps your income. Most music teachers are locked into a way of charging that actually works against them. When I changed how I charged for my teaching, everything opened up for me. It helped me grow past 6 figures coaching drums online, and it completely changed how I even think about teaching as a whole. By the end of this video, you'll see how you can earn more teaching music online without stacking your week with extra lessons. Let's get into it. You probably charge by the hour for one simple reason. That's what everybody else does, right? It's the default. You pick a rate, you teach the hour, and often you never really stop to look at what that way of charging actually does to your income long term. The first problem is your income depends entirely on attendance, right? And not necessarily progress. So if someone doesn't show up, you don't get paid. Doesn't matter how committed they are or how much work you've put in, you're really tied to whether they turn up that week. And that's something you ultimately don't have control over. The second problem is you're selling time instead of the thing your students actually want. Nobody signs up because they're excited to buy 60 minutes of time from you, right? They want confidence on their instrument. They want momentum. They want direction. They want songs that they can actually play. But hourly pricing kind of makes all that secondary and puts all the focus on the hour instead of the actual progress of the student. And this is where things start to go wrong. Once everything is framed around that time in the actual lesson, people start thinking the value of your teaching is whatever happens inside that one session. But you know that's not true. The real progress happens in between those lessons, right? The structure the student follows, the practice plan you set, the feedback you give, the accountability that keeps them moving. You probably even had a student or a parent say, but they're coming every week, so why aren't they improving? And you and I both know exactly why, because showing up for an hour isn't what makes someone better. It's what they do once the hour is over, right? And you put all that together and you can end up underpaid, overworked, and constantly replacing students who drift in and out. And even if everything feels like it's going okay, there's one thing that destroys hourly teaching completely. You've probably got this message before, right? Oh, sorry, I haven't really had time to work on things this week. Can we skip today? And just like that, an hour of your income disappears. It doesn't matter that you planned a lesson, you set their practice for the week or keep them on track. One message just wipes the whole thing out, right? And the weird part is how awkward it feels to even have a cancellation policy. Like either you're going to enforce it and feel guilty and get them to pay for something they haven't shown up for, or you let it slide and you just lose the money. Neither option really feels good. So most teachers end up somewhere in the middle, like trying to be understanding while also just taking the financial hit on the chin. It only takes a few of these in a month to feel like your income is completely unpredictable. You're relying on students being organized and motivated and consistent and available every single week. And that's why you can have a calendar that kind of looks full on paper, but then you still feel like you're struggling to make ends meet financially. But here's the most important part of all this, right? This isn't happening because you're a bad teacher or because your students don't care. It's just happening because of the way that you're charging. Okay, so if you're not charging for the hour, then what are students actually paying you for? They're paying you for momentum. They're paying for clarity on what to practice. They're paying for the confidence in you helping them achieve their goals, right? They're paying for the ability to play the songs that they care about, right? And most of all, they're paying for progress that actually happens in between the lessons. Like I said, no one's excited to buy 60 minutes, right? But everyone's excited about getting better. And think about it from a student's point of view, right? If you're looking at 2 offers and someone's like, I charge $60 a lesson, or I'll help you confidently play 5 full songs in the next 30 days, right? It's not even close, right? One of them is just like a price tag on an hour, but the other is a result that the student can actually picture themselves achieving. Now, when I'm working with my clients, helping them grow their online teaching income, I see this pattern all the time. They come in thinking that their issue is a cancellation policy or their pricing or picky students or not having big enough social media. But once we look at actually what's going on, it always comes back to the same thing. They're selling that hour, right? They're selling the hour instead of the actual progress. And once they flip that, right, even just mentally before changing anything on paper, things start to feel different, right? You stop thinking like someone trading time and start thinking like someone guiding a student towards a clear result. And that shift changes how people respond to them, right? They start getting more interest. Students show up more prepared. They attract people who actually care about improving instead of people who are just filling in a weekly time slot. And all the cancellation chaos drops off because the whole relationship is built around progress instead of attendance. Once you see it, you can't go back to the old way, I promise you. So if hourly teaching is holding you back, what should you do instead? Okay, well, you've really got three good options, I think. And every single one of them gives you more stability than relying on people turning up every week. The first is outcome-based packages. So you're still gearing towards a result, but instead of selling single lessons, you'd sell a package of 6 or 10 lessons at once, which the student pays for ahead of time. And you give them a really clear promise of what you're going to do together. Here's what we're going to achieve over the next few weeks together, right? This is good for beginners, but to be honest, I think it's still a little bit limited, right? It's better than doing hour by hour, week by week, but it still kind of treats the lessons as the main event, but it's better than nothing for sure. The second option is to do a monthly membership, right? Just one flat monthly price that covers the lessons and the support in between those lessons. One of the things I talk a lot about on this channel is moving things towards a coaching framework where you offer a bit more support in between. Students get better results, better for everyone. But purely in terms of pricing, you're just charging monthly. And here's the key difference. If someone cancels, your income doesn't fall apart, right? They're paying for access to your help and not just that 60-minute session that you do with them. This is where you start moving from teacher that they see once a week to someone who's actually guiding their progress, like more like a coach, like I said. The other benefit is that because it's paid up front, you don't need a cancellation policy, right? Cancellations just become reschedules because they've already committed. And then the third option is more of a premium coaching model, which is basically the most complete version of this. A structured journey, a clear transformation, more of a program or structured course. This is where you work with students who are serious, who actually show up, who actually do the work, and they get better results for it. This is what I did with my drum coaching program. I charged a bit more of a premium price. It was around $2,000 US for 12 weeks. And I'd work closely in more of a coaching kind of mentorship arrangement with the students. The point isn't to necessarily copy what I did. It's just to see that all these three options break you out of that hourly trap and kind of put the focus back where it should have been all along, which is on the student's progress and not the value of the individual lesson. Now, you're probably thinking something like, okay, this all sounds good, but like, what about my current students, right? You can't just flip a switch and suddenly charge more or like change the pricing structure. So the real question becomes, well, where do you find the students who are happy to pay for this? The committed ones, the motivated ones, the ones who really value what you do and they want progress and they actually show up ready to learn. Check out this video here. This is exactly what I walk you through. You'll learn how to find your ideal students online who are happy to pay and who are a joy to teach.